There's a specter of deflation. There's a strong euro. Is this the next currency war?
Right. The currency wars go on for years, and that's the thing. We're in a currency war now. It started in 2010. I expect it will go on for 5 or 10 years. Historically, that's what happens. We're not always in a currency war, but when we are, it can go on for a very long period of time. Now, like a real war, it's not all fighting all the time. You have big battles, and then you have periods of quiet. So, for example, in December 2012, Abenomics and the cheapening of the yen, which is continuing, that was a big splash. Quieted down a little bit over the course of the summer, although very tough on emerging markets. Now we're back, and Europe has joined in for the first time. Europe is really not, they've been sort of...
The first time last week.
Correct. They've been sort of missing in action in the currency wars, and now they've actually taken some steps. Although the euro has held up very well. I've been bullish on the euro for a long time, as you know, and my mantra is it's strong and getting stronger. I expect the euro will go back up, mainly because the U.S. wants a cheaper dollar. China does not want the currency to go up any more than they have to, so the euro has to go up. It's a zero-sum game.
But, Jim, this is going to be a huge problem at some point for Europe, and actually, of course, the ECB doesn't have a mandate to deal with this, so it has to focus on deflation, or at least disinflation for now. Is this a concern?
Yeah, deflation is a central banker's worst nightmare. You can actually have positive growth with deflation, but the problem is you can have negative nominal GDP with some deflation, so minus the negative gives you positive real growth. Positive real growth sounds fine, but negative nominal GDP is a disaster for debt to GDP ratios. So you can have a world where you have real growth, declining deficits, but the debt to GDP ratio is still going up because the denominator is shrinking, your nominal GDP is shrinking, and then that feeds on itself, makes the real value of cash higher, so people hoard cash, makes debts more burdensome, so it's harder to grow. Even
very Japan-like.
That's right. Well, Japan is a case study. Now, what's interesting is that beginning in 2008, the Fed said over and over, we are not going to repeat the mistakes of Japan. In fact, we've repeated every single mistake. Because it's not really on the monetary side, it's on the structural side. We never cleaned up our banks. We never closed banks. They should have been closed. Same thing in Europe, by the way. So those structural changes have not been made. Europe actually has made structural changes in things like unit labor costs and some other aspects, which
slowly,
are getting slowly. But
I mean, a lot of the periphery countries have to do much more, certainly in terms of labor reforms.
They have to do some more, you're right, but the U.S. has done nothing. The U.S. has tried all monetary solutions, but a cyclical solution will not solve a structural problem. We're in a depression, which is structural. We need structural solutions.
Jim, talk to me still a little bit more about the European Central Bank. At the end of the day, whether it's legal or not, will it have to commit to QE? Once we've gone through the LTROs, once we've gone the repo rates negative, is QE the only option?
It might be. The question is, why are you doing it? And so you're resorting to QE in order to avoid deflation, which is a part of the mandate of a central bank. The ECB mandate does include price stability. Well, that's obviously avoiding inflation, but also means avoiding deflation. They want to hit price stability. So if you're easing to avoid deflation, that would seem to be a legitimate reason. If you're easing for the sole purpose of cheapening your currency, you're in the currency wars, and that's what Bank of England and Japan and the U.S. have done.
Yeah, without ever saying it, but that's
exactly.
if you look at the underlying, that was the reason.
Right, they want to import inflation through cheaper currency.